U.S. economy added 139,000 jobs in May, more than expected. Unemployment also remaining steady in the month at 4.2%. Joining me now in studio to break down the report, we've got Andrew McCaskill, good friend of the show, LinkedIn career expert. Andrew, good to have you back here. What do you make of this month's numbers?
Listen, I think what we're seeing is that businesses are hiring. They're still hiring. Unemployment is sitting pretty steadily at about 4.2%. Interestingly, though, healthcare is showing big gains, and ironically, hospitality re-enters the chat. We haven't seen hospitality on the list of industries that are hiring most recently, and I think that that's good news. I mean, that we'll see once hospitality is starting to come back. There's a bunch of other things that could be up for that as well.
Well, it's so interesting, especially reading through the reports over the course of this week, where wages stand within all of this. What is the assessment on where wages are continuing to outpace inflation and what that means for the confidence in employees from what we're sensing at this juncture?
I think what it means for employees is that at every juncture, yes, their hiring is happening, but you're going to have to negotiate for your life, right? That you're going to have to go into whatever interview process with as much information as possible, with as much leverage as possible, really being able to tell your story, making it so easy for people to hire you in a way that we've never seen before. Yeah. So it's one thing for us to talk about, hey, the job market is competitive. You've heard me say that many times, but what it means in terms of for job seekers right now is that they're going to have to be so strategic, where geography strategic, industry strategic, maybe even looking at parts of their skill set that they lean into less, but are more valuable and more marketable to help them snag that job.
I also want to talk about a report that LinkedIn recently released. It's Belonging Report and the Belonging Blueprint, finding that only 35% of LGBTQ plus professionals feel comfortable being their full selves at work. What were some of the findings here that really stuck out to you?
So a lot of the findings that stuck out were that LGBTQ plus professionals, they have a higher rate of turnover once they get into organizations, largely because the organization was not what they thought it was. So you may see a job description that looks very inclusive. The company looks really inclusive on paper. What we did with this Belonging Blueprint was saying, it's really important for you to know before you go. So here are the questions that you should ask. Here are the culture cues that will help you identify safer spaces. Many people have felt like they've had to code switch. Going into a safer space, using some of these tools and tactics on the front end, like looking at using the values-based matching filter on LinkedIn, or looking at these company pages to see if they have employee resource groups. Also, phone a friend. Your network will tell you whether or not this is a safer place for someone from your community. Friends won't let their friends go and work at companies that are anti-LGBTQ+. The other piece of it is that the interview process and the offer letter process are also key opportunities for you to jump in and see what that process looks like.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You have tips, and you were starting to hit on some of these. For every step of the job seeking process, starting with the job search, how can we leverage and the community leverage some of these tools to make sure that they're going into an organization, which you were starting to touch on, that actually is supporting, not just because it's the du jour.
Yeah, not just it's Pride Month, right?
But because it's more in their long-term just value system that they have.
Yeah, on the front end, looking at some of the indexes like the Human Rights Campaign, like trusted sources for members of the LGBTQ plus community to better understand what a company's culture is. The other thing is during the interview process, ask really smart questions. Even if you're not comfortable saying, what's it like for a LGBTQ plus person here? Look and see if are the hiring managers or recruiters using pronouns. Maybe say, hey, I saw you have employee resource groups. Talk to me a little bit about what those look like and how you feel about them. Even just their reactions to you asking about that can give you some real clues. The other thing for LGBTQ plus people that I think is really important too is you may not always be able to say, oh, well, are there other queer people in leadership? Because you can't look at people and tell. Is take a look at, are there members of other marginalized groups in leadership? A company that has women and people of color or people who have disabilities in leadership probably also is a company that may have real commitments to inclusion, equitable hiring, and being able to places where people can thrive. The offer letter is a big deal.
Yeah.
We oftentimes look at the number and we're like, yay, we do the math. It's the off the offer letter benefits that are so important, because if a company on their off the offer letter benefits, if the company has benefits for things like family planning or family building support, or you may have only one stop on your gender journey, but if the company has gender affirming care, it's a good sign that they have other policies in place that will be highly inclusive.
I'll add one more. Take a look at the companies that have had shareholder votes where those shareholders have voted down anti-DEI, which this also includes anti-DEI activist pushes where shareholders have actually pushed back against those to make sure that there are more opportunities to uphold these values as well.
Yeah.
Andrew, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.